I wanted to get really creative for this video because I found some graph paper when I was shopping at Daiso Japan, and it just kind of inspired me of what kind of activities I can do with this and how I can make this one simple tool, a piece of graph paper, so simple. So I came up with a few ideas by staring at it for a really long time, and I thought I'd share them with you. Hey you guys, it's Christina from the Purple Alphabet. We are showing some activities to do with graph paper, which might seem like a really simple thing, but I was trying to think of some really great learning activities to really expand the use of this and have some fun while doing it. When I was at Daiso Japan, I found these pads of graph paper and I thought, you know what? I bet I could use that in an activity. Sometimes you guys ask me how I come up with the ideas for my activities on my channel, and it's just as simple as that. I see something that looks interesting and I think of all the ways that I could use it in learning. So I have a whole bunch of ideas for you, and if you have some too, feel free to share them down below in the comments. If you are new here, you have to click subscribe because I would love it if you were to join the Purple Alphabet community. We do educational activities here and ideas and inspirations to learn through play. And leave a comment down below telling me that you're new here. I'd like to say hi, and if you're not new, leave me a comment too because I might put it on the screen like these right here. Love reading your comments, so please continue to do so. So let's talk about the graph paper. Right now, graph paper can be found very inexpensively. I picked up this packet. It has 80 sheets in here, and it's the 4x4 quad ruled, and it's just a packet of graphing paper, graph paper. I think it was, I don't know, under $1. It wasn't that much. But you can also find notebooks too. I found these two at Daiso. They're just super cute, and I couldn't resist them. So they were $1.50 for the bound book. And you can see that they just have individual pages with them. And I've actually seen these at Target right now for the back to school sales. So you might want to check there just to see. Usually there are a lot of these. I don't know, they're not really a required thing in schools, at least here where I live. But that's just two different ways that you can find them. Most of these activities can be done with just a simple package of markers or colored pencils if you want it to be erasable, colored pens, that sort of thing. And then some of them you can use some scissors with too. I really want to show you a variety of different activities that you can do. I don't want to just limit you to different levels. So as I always say on these videos, adapt it to the skill level of your child. Change things out, make it easier, make it harder. There are different variations you can do on all of these activities. So I basically say that because I know all skill levels are different. A child who is 5 might have a different skill level than another child who's 5, and it might be more or less. And so just really keep your eyes and mind open to the different possibilities. I went ahead and divided my paper into half for this first example of what you can do. And this is a very simple exercise that you can try. I actually think I might divide it out a little bit more here. Okay, so something like this. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. And so on one side, I'm going to pre-draw in some visual exercises. And this can be very simple, or it can be more complicated. So as you see here, I went ahead and drew a variation of different shapes, different lines. And so the idea is for your child to mimic that on the other side, on the other angle. And so this is something that you can start off very easy, very simple, maybe just a couple lines, and then work your way up. And then you can even, I didn't put any diagonals on here, but if you wanted to, you could work in some diagonal ones too, maybe something like that, just to make it more complicated. And so what this is working on is visual perception and really being able to imitate this image on one side to the other. They're going to be doing things like counting how many boxes are in each square, or finding, where to connect the lines. And they might need a little bit of prompting to guide them through what they're doing at first. So basically counting how many boxes are across or counting how many boxes are down. It's a really good exercise on visual perception and being able to determine how to copy these over. For the young ones, using these as a guide to draw simple shapes. So you could say, please draw a rectangle, so they can use the lines to draw a rectangle. I'm going really big here, you don't have to go that big. Or please draw a square. Kind of free-formed my circle there. So you can have them draw shapes on here using the lines, and they will actually enjoy just drawing lines. But you can also cut these out. So you have a cutting exercise of cutting on the lines, and you're going to end up with a whole bunch of shapes. And you can do a couple things with these different shapes. You can do art projects with the different shapes that they've made, some shape art. You can color them in all different colors so that you have different colored shapes. I'm kind of just cutting this super fast because I want to get to the demonstration here. You can do shape matches with them if you have younger kids. I am a horrible speed cutter, you guys. Maybe I should have done this off camera before I turned the camera on. That probably would have been the best deal, huh? So if I had all of these a different color, use your imagination out there. I know you got it. Then you can make some pretty abstract art with it, or you can make actual art with it. So let's say this was, I don't know, a person with a very small head, and they had 2 arms here maybe, and maybe they had 2 legs. I'm gonna cheat here and say I cut that out already, and 2 legs. So something like that. They can create their own creation from the different shapes. And speaking of different shapes, you've also seen it where you have the different shapes that are kind of fitting like Tetris. So how you do that to make a puzzle is very easy, you guys. So let's just do this for sake of example. You draw your square, your shape, your rectangle, whatever you want first. And then inside the puzzle is where you draw your different shapes. So let's say we do something like that. And then maybe we do something like this. And so you create your own Tetris-like puzzle, and you can cut out all the pieces and fit them back together. This is very helpful if you stick to a couple different kind of shapes and color them all the same color. So for instance, all the shapes that are like this, this is totally crude, you guys. I should have done this a little bit more straighter, but you can color all the same pieces, the same color, and then you can have your own Tetris game. Kind of along the same lines as that is a symmetry exercise. So I just drew another line down below, and this is another one that can be very simple or very difficult. So these top 2 would be a great example to do something that's a symmetrical drawing. So they would just have to replicate this on the other side of the line, and they can use different colors if they want, or you can even color it in. So as you can see, I kind of messed up here for a second because I didn't count my blocks, but something like this is what you should end up with. So you're teaching symmetry and teaching how you can imitate something when you put the line straight down the middle. You can get more complicated with this if you wanted to. You can do like a house maybe, so they'd have to draw the other half of the house. You can do any type of other image that you want to on this side. So symmetry is a really good one to move up after you've done the kind of reciprocation on the previous activities. So for students who are interested in measuring, recognizing that 1 block equals 1 unit and making that compared to something, so maybe 1 unit equals 1 foot. In your home, you can do kind of like a home floor plan. We used to do this when I was in grade school, and it was a lot of fun to map out your house or 1 floor or a bedroom, and to measure and then count 1 unit per foot that we measured with the measuring tape, because that was the best part. The floor plan of our homes. Now this is not my house, but I am just doing this as an example of what you could possibly come up with, and you can draw it on the map and have a floor plan of your house. You can label it if you wanted to. You can color code it. Let's do the living room. Totally making this up. Maybe this is the garage. If you want to take it one step further, you can actually write your measurements out here. So let's say, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 8. So now you're writing in the measurements, and then you can take it further into math and do all kinds of perimeter area activities too, if you're into that for math. I know I have a lot of homeschoolers on here, so that might be something that you might be interested in. You can keep it just very simple and counting the feet and writing them in, and you can get more complicated and determine your area and perimeter. Even more complicated if you wanted to get high advanced is adding in furniture and plotting in furniture. We used to do an exercise where you could decorate your whole room and rearrange the furniture in your room, and that's actually a fun activity to do too if you wanted kind of a longer term project. Beginning multiplication is also a really easy thing to do on here. So let's say we need to do 3 times 3. Then you would put the math problem on here. Of course, demonstrating this first is going to be helpful, and count out 3 blocks going down. And then you need 3 blocks going across. And then you just complete it, and you count the blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to find your answer. So 3 times 3 equals 9. A very simple demonstration of multiplication. We can do the same thing with 5 times 2, for example. So we're going to go 5 blocks down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 blocks over. 1, 2. Complete the shape, Count them all, and now we know our answer is 10. A great visual representation that's very similar to the Montessori multiplication board, but it's a great exercise. If you also want to do it without doing the math problem first, you can do that as well. So let's just draw a box on here, and we say, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4. Count the blocks, and we know that there is 16. Love this to demonstrate multiplication because even your youngest ones who can count the blocks are going to be able to get this. Since we're talking a lot about math, I also wanted to bring up fractions. So let's say we have a little chart here because I like charts on this piece of paper. So this first column will be the fraction. We can make the second column a drawing, and we can make this last one the whole number. Now I saw this idea on Pinterest and I think it's just pretty brilliant. So if you have a fraction, for example, 9 thirds, then you would draw it out here next. So you have the thirds, you know you need 3 drawings, so you could just draw 1. So we have 9 thirds here. So here's a group of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 thirds here, and then that whole number 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? So I'll do another one for you real quick. 16 eighths. So we need to do a couple sets of 8s to make 16. Here's 1. We'll draw it out so we know that there's different units in there. So there's 8. Then we need another 8. So these are 16. So I made 16 eighths. And then that whole number would be 2. So you're drawing fractions and doing models and figuring out the whole numbers here. This one is probably the most advanced activity. One of the easiest activities you can do with graph paper is patterns, and you can just use the blocks themselves to just do different patterns. Here I'm doing one that can be continued on after I get it started here. If you have an artistic child, they can just color in and make pictures with the blocks doing patterns and geometric art. So we can continue the pattern here. Here's an example of the geometric art. Another thing you can do with graph paper is some geometric art. So we would draw lines on our paper. They don't have to be straight lines. You could use diagonal lines too. And this is just an example of kind of what we used to do. And then we would fill in those blocks with a particular color until the whole paper was filled in. Now I chose wide surfaces here to color in, but if you wanted to, you can get even smaller and just do block by block until the whole paper is done. And then sometimes even doing patterns for the whole thing is actually really pretty too. If I can find some online, I'm gonna put some pictures because I'm not gonna sit here and color out individual blocks for you. I'm gonna pop some pictures on the screen so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about and the different kinds of art that you can do. It just becomes a really pretty meditation kind of activity. So the child that would be likely to do this is a child that enjoys coloring, enjoys the process. What do you think? Do you have any ideas on how you could use graph paper in your house? Leave them down below. Share the ideas, read each other's ideas. You guys have the best ones. Really, truly you do. Click subscribe to see more videos like this and give me a thumbs up to show your love.